All right. Thanks for that introduction, Joe. Appreciate that. Going to have a real brief presentation to talk about the TCHH. I'm Jeff Syar, as you mentioned. I'm from Ohio DOT, and as Joe mentioned, I got voted out yesterday. So our new chair will be from Maine next year. So looking forward to that. All right, so I'm going to reiterate probably a little bit from what Brad had said. Just welcome back. It's just really good to see some friends and colleagues that we haven't seen in a long time. The last time we had a get-together, I guess, was in my hometown in Columbus, and that was 2018. It was a long time ago, and I'm glad to be back. So I want to thank all the sponsors. I want to thank Georgia DOT, Brad. I mean, you did a ton of work here. Having been involved with one of these, I know what that's about, so I can definitely give you a hands off to you. Session presenters. This is probably one of the most technical conferences regarding our subject matter that I've been to, and I really want to thank you guys for coming because you make this what it is. And then also the steering committee. We've been meeting weekly for the last couple of months. It's been a long road. It's nice to finally get here. So, just a little overview of the TCHH. Some of you might not be aware, but we are just a technical committee amongst the AASHTO Committee on Design. So we're just a small group of DOTs. And what we have highlighted in green are the members of the TCHH. We have a total of 20 members. And, it's 4 from each region within AASHTO. So we're limited by our participation because we are just a technical committee. That's something we struggle with, and we represent the rest of the country, though. So if there's a state up here that's not in green that has a desire to do research, you can come to us, and we'll definitely take that and move forward with it for you on your behalf. So. We have no current vacancies. We had a lot of coming and going over the pandemic time. We picked up some new members. We lost some members to retirement. Some of them went to other different jobs. So we've been pretty busy, even though we've been working from home and during the pandemic. We have a Scour task force that's been working with the Committee on Bridge, T15 group. I feel like we're pretty close to getting some really good language in the bridge LRFD bridge design specifications regarding Scour. And then the COB group decided to push their updates out another year. So we got pushed back a little bit, which was unfortunate because the chair at T15, Tony Allen from Washington, retired. So hopefully we can pick that up and keep moving it forward with the new chair of T15. But that's been a pretty big thing that's been on our plates lately. The HydroLink newsletter, anybody here aware of the HydroLink? Raise your hand. That's good. If you're not, I want to tell you about it. If you go to the AASHTO TCHH, just Google that, and you'll see the HydroLink amongst the web page. And we use that as a medium to communicate with our constituents across the country. There's lots of good technical stuff in there. Every time we do it twice a year. We try to do it twice a year. And that's been something that we've been continuing to provide even during the pandemic. NHEC planning, or NHEC as I'm hearing, is that the new term, how we're going to call this? That's always ongoing. That's a 2-year deal, right? So 2 years from now, we're going to meet somewhere else with the NHEC. Next year, our TCHH group will meet with the Committee on Design, and that's what I heard this morning is going to be in Savannah, Georgia. So Brad, we're going to be back in Georgia next year. I'm sure you're happy about that. But yeah, we will be sending out a survey to the DOTs here after this event, asking for a host DOT. So if you're interested in doing this, definitely respond to that, and the steering committee will look at all the applicants, and then we'll make a decision. So. AASHTO Drainage Manual, the one that we have now is from 2014, and even though it was 2014, a lot of the information is even older than that because it takes a while to publish a document. So That's going to be a heavy lift for this group. We're in the midst of a NCHRP project to update that. It's projected to be summer of '24. I wouldn't be surprised if that got pushed out a little bit more, but it should be right around that time frame that we should be done. That's going to be a big lift. We've broken it all up into different chapters, and we're all going to dive into the versions that we get from the researcher and go from there. But the Stormwater Committee, we recently got an email from the AASHTO Center for Environmental Excellence. That's the environmental AASHTO group, and they wanted us to become part of a stormwater task force. That's apparently part of that bill that Joe had mentioned in this prior presentation. Congress was tasked to come up with a report, or FHW was, or somebody was. They contacted us and said, do you have any volunteers that are willing to be on this steering group? So we have a couple that volunteered, and they're involved with that. I didn't volunteer for that. I'm not really a stormwater person, but we have that expertise on the TCHH, so that's ongoing. The last thing on my bullet point here is Friends of the Committee. This is something that we've been talking about and we've been trying to do for quite a while, because if you remember the map, the green, we don't have a lot of representation, but we would really like to get other DOTs that might not be eligible to be a full TCHH member part of our discussions, right? So Friends of the Committee is what a lot of the technical committees are using in that capacity. So we had a big discussion about it yesterday. We're still kind of vetting through it, but we kind of decided that the Friends should be DOTs. So if there's any DOT that's not on the TCHH, please get a hold of myself or Charlie Hebson, who's going to be the incoming chair here soon, and work through that. So that is definitely going to be an opportunity that we're looking forward to. We're going to need the help, actually, with our AASHTO drainage manual as well. So just a couple slides here. This is probably not new to you. Staffing questions, right? I mean, we have open positions in the Ohio DOT, and we've had them for a long time, and they're very hard to backfill. So, I went and did my own little research here, and I went to the U.S. Bureau of Labor Statistics just to try to figure out, what's going on. And if you go to their webpage, I don't know if you can read this or not, but it basically says, on the average, about 25,000 civil engineers leave our field every year, and that's due to retirements, due to people just deciding they want to do something different, or maybe they won the lottery, who knows. But 25,000, so that's a number you can put in your head. And there's other sources that I go to that, look at the average number of civil engineering degrees that we're putting out on the streets every year, and this goes back to 2012 all the way up to 2020. We're nowhere near the 25,000. So we definitely have an issue here. I think some of the younger folks maybe aren't choosing civil engineering, or maybe they're choosing something that's, more the hot and sexy. I know my son is at that age, and he wants to save the planet, and God love him, But civil engineering wasn't something he wanted to do. But we need to somehow try to talk to those folks and convince them, with some of the climate change stuff that we're doing, we're part of that. We're part of that puzzle. But we need to communicate that to these kids. So we need to brainstorm on that. So I do have some conference challenges here for you folks. First one here is, let's brainstorm amongst ourselves, and let's see if we can address the staffing issue into the future. I don't know what the solution is. Do we get more involved with STEM? Do we try to go back to our DOTs and say, hey, we need to get involved with the high schools to try to convince them that this is a really good profession to be in? And yeah, you can save the planet by being a civil engineer, right? So it's something we need to brainstorm and think about. Be active at this conference, right? You have a lot of expertise here. Ask questions. Don't be afraid. I know you could be in a large room and you don't want to be that person to ask the dumb question. Well, everyone has the same question, just nobody wants to ask it. So be the one. Be the one to ask it. Some of the most rewarding things that I found in life to do are some of the more stressful or some of the more scary things to do, right? And standing in front of a group and asking a question might be one of those. So challenge yourself. try to meet at least 2 new people, okay? There's a lot of people in here, and everybody's willing and ready to talk about our subject matter. So try to meet at least 2 new people. That's a very low bar, right? We can do better than that, but 2 is where I'm setting it. So try to meet 2. Anybody TCHH members in here? Raise your hands. Talk to these people. You see them, talk to them. All right. Okay. Try to find at least one concept, one idea, one process to take back to your DOT. So our folks back at our home office, they let us go to these events with the expectation that we're going to learn something, we're going to bring it back. And I challenge myself with that every time I go to a conference. I try to bring something back. And sometimes it's difficult, especially when I'm going to like the bridge conference stuff, you know. But try to do that. Try to bring something back. Wednesday night, we're going to be in this room at 5:30 to 7:30, and we're going to talk about research needs. We're going to talk about this challenge of staffing. If maybe you brainstormed and came up with some ideas, bring it to this room. Let's talk. Let's have a conversation. So, with that, I think I am done. I am tasked with introducing the next presenter, which I didn't have his bio, so I made it up. So hopefully he knows he was in the Navy and retired. It's Dr. Michael Perez. He is the current chair of the TRB committee AKD 50, Hydrology, Hydraulics, and Stormwater. He is an assistant professor in the Civil and Environmental Engineering Department at Auburn University. He is very active in research related to erosion and sediment control. How'd I do? Perfect.